Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about SRA, Stimulus Recovery Adaptation, and you. This video comes in light of a question I received about why we usually see people benching anywhere from 2 to 3 times a week, but normally we only see people deadlifting about once a week. In order to understand that, first we need to understand the process of stimulus recovery and adaptation. So we go into the gym with our current fitness level and we have a really good training session. And what happens during that training session is we're stimulating the body, but in order to stimulate the body, we have to stress it out. So after that hard training session, your ability to lift is actually going to go down temporarily because you're in a state of fatigue. But what's going to happen is over the days and weeks of you properly eating and sleeping and staying hydrated, your body's going to recover. The damage to the muscle tissue that you did during that workout is going to slowly mend itself, and eventually you're going to make what's called an adaptation. It's important to remember that only by going through the recovery process first do you then make an adaptation in the form of getting bigger or stronger. So once we've gone through this stimulus, recovery, and adaptation process, that is when you get a new level of fitness in the form of a higher level of strength or a higher amount of muscle mass. So what does this have to do with your squat and deadlift frequency? So now that we know your body has to go through this process in order for you to make the progress that you want, we can start asking questions like, how often can I train so that I'm making as much progress as possible but still allowing my body to go through this process? Because if we're inducing a training stress too often, your body's going to be in a constant state of just trying to recover, and it's going to be in a constant state of fatigue where you're not going to be able to make those adaptations you want. So if we think about our bench press relative to our squat and deadlift, the amount of weight we're using is significantly less, and the amount of muscle mass that we're doing damage to is also significantly less. So the fatigue deficit that we're going to go into isn't going to be nearly as much as it would be on the deadlift or the squat. So for our body to go through this entire process on an exercise like the deadlift, where you might be using 300, 400, 500 pounds and activating almost every muscle in your body, this process might take an entire week or even longer depending on how strong you are and how much volume you're doing. Whereas with the bench press, on the other hand, most people are going to be using around 200 pounds for their working weight, and you're only going to be doing damage to the muscles in your upper body. So the amount of fatigue we're generating is significantly less. So we might only need 2 or 3 or 4 days to go through this entire process before we're ready to train hard again. It's also important to keep in mind that we don't necessarily need to wait till we're perfectly recovered from a workout until we can do our next workout, but we do want to come out of that fatigue deficit for the most part. So after our body has completed this process, if we go too long without another stimulating training session, it's possible that we could start to see fitness decay. And while fitness decay is a gradual process that happens over days, you don't need to worry about losing all your progress if you don't bench for 2 or 3 days. It is something that can affect your training over the weeks and months. So for a lift like the bench press that we're recovering from relatively quickly, if we're not getting in a stimulating training session relatively soon after we've recovered, we could start to see a little bit of fitness decay. And that can negatively affect the little bits of progress that you're going to be making every week, and by the end of your training session, you might see some suboptimal results, or worst case scenario, no results at all. So to summarize, you can bench press more often because it takes less time to recover from, and we don't want to go too long without stimulating training sessions after you've already recovered from a workout, because then we might lose progress. Whereas with the deadlift, it might take you 5 days to a week to recover from that workout, and so we want to give you more time to rest. In the vast majority of the cases where people aren't making progress in a certain lift, it's because they're not able to find the balance between training hard but still allowing the SRA process to occur. Hopefully this video was helpful to you guys. Like, subscribe. See you next time.